Hey, good morning.
Good morning. How are you?
I'm wonderful. How are you today?
Doing great.
So, where are you coming out of?
Uh, just got to Long Beach, California last night.
Oh, wonderful. That's a great part of the country. Well, it's great to meet you. I'm here in Kansas City, Missouri. Um, so yeah. So thanks for taking a minute out today. I appreciate it.
Oh, thank you for having me. I used to live in Kansas City.
Oh, wow. Where were you at?
In Lee Summit.
That's where I live.
Really?
Yeah, I'm out there. I moved there in January 2020 before the pandemic began, and since I do radio, I have so many Pat Metheny stories. It's crazy.
I bet. Yeah, it's a great music town.
Yeah. So how long were you there?
Let's see, 1990 until 2003.
Yeah, it's changed a lot. It's gotten really big.
Really? Lee
Yeah,
Summit got big.
huge. Isn't that weird to say? I mean, it's
Yeah.
like, I mean, the festivals and art walks and everything that they have are just massive downtown. It's just like the whole town has exploded.
Well, that's great. That's great. It had all the accoutrements, all the things that could make it a great artsy town.
Yeah, it certainly has lived up to it. Um, before we get into your life and your work, I want to get into how did you survive COVID? How did you get through that time period?
Actually, I just hunkered down. I was caring for my mom, who was like 87 at the time, and just basically wrote from home and made sure she didn't go out. So it was in a way it was very focusing for us. You know what I mean? It was just a we lived in a bubble. And Los Angeles was I think it ranks in the top 5 of the level of lockdown globally. So we were really locked down. You couldn't even go to the beach for the first 8 months or so.
Yeah, I listened to Rogan and he just went ballistic about that mayor. He left. That's why he went to Austin. He was like it was the most insane thing because that's the thing I couldn't figure out too. Everybody's in the restaurant without their masks on. They wear them when they come in. It's like everything was it was just a very strange time.
There are a lot, yeah, it was a strange time, a lot of inconsistencies, and I understand that there was less understanding at the beginning than there was later, but even when they knew certain things like it's airborne. I mean, going to the beach sounds like one of the best things you could
That
do.
right,
Get
right.
out of the house.
Yeah, are you kidding? I mean, that's how
Yeah.
we survived it. As you know, Lee Summit and the Kansas City surrounding area has plenty of land space, and I was right next to James A. Reed, so there
Yep.
was plenty of times that we could go and see things. And yeah, in fact, I saw a bald eagle there in like May or June, and I think everything slowed down enough where they were coming out, so it was pretty cool to see that.
Awesome.
So,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. That is a great time of year there too.
yeah, for
Air's
sure.
not, yeah.
So let's get to the essence of what you do. I mean, there's a lot of things that are part of being a singer, songwriter, composer, producer, and author, but I want to get to the essence of what you do. I'm going to put you in front of a bunch of third graders at a career day, and one of the kids looks up at you and says, "Hey, what do you do for a living?" How do you answer that child?
Well, how old is the child?
About 10 or 11.
10 or 11. All right, very good. What I do is I write books for things that need a lot of words to say, and I write songs for ideas that can be felt, like Happy Birthday is a feeling song. um, and I make music that goes underneath movies and cartoons.
So, what did you want to be when you were 10 or 11 years old? What was your dream when you grew up?
I wanted to be a singer and a songwriter.
You're living the dream,
Yeah.
right?
Finally, yes. It took a
Yeah.
while to get here, but yes.
That's the thing that I notice about covering jazz music. It's not usually until someone breaks in. A lot of LA studio musicians will get notoriety because of it. I mean, they may not know who they are, but they'll get their right payday and they'll get the right exposure. And that is a good thing about being involved in media is that you do finally get kind of exposure that you're looking for as an artist?
Yeah, uh, it's funny because as a singer-songwriter, of course, exposure is not everything, but it's a huge part of the equation.
Yeah.
Um, in terms of all the other jobs, I love the aspect of being a musician that doesn't need to tour. Um, you know, just staying in front of my computer and bringing notes together, as Mozart says, or McCartney repeated, notes that get along. You know, to me that's getting to be a lot more likable, just because um, touring is hard and it can be fun, but I like staying home too. And if there's a good payday, staying at home, that's pretty attractive.
For sure. So let's go back to your childhood. Where were you born and raised? How did these seeds get into you?
Well, I was born and raised in Long Beach, California. Um, and my parents were both classical musicians. So I grew up around, I mean, just constantly hearing music because my dad directed a choir and participated in, I don't know how much, I don't know how widespread the Roger Wagner chorale is, but I think it's a fairly world famous chorale. They definitely do global tours and things like that. I grew up around a lot of musical theater, a lot of church music and choral music. Some of my projects turn out to be super choral, but I was the rogue. I was writing when I was about 6. Not that I'm proud of anything I wrote. I think I might remember one thing that I wrote when I was 6, but the classical musician in my mind, I don't know that other people look at it this way, but the classical musician is a lot about replication, like
Yeah.
what's on the page, play from the page. And I just always wanted to improvise. And of course that meant writing eventually. If you improvise something you like enough, it's on the way to becoming a written song.
Yeah.
So that's my background. I grew up just doing a lot of singing and some writing. I was performing by the time I was 14, sneaking into clubs, like BB King used to play. There was a place in Huntington Beach called the Golden Bear,
Yeah.
and he was there a lot. And even Long Beach had, I think it was like the West Coast Bodega, I'm not sure. Um, I listened to one of your episodes recently with the studio guys, the session players. I'm
Dan
sorry.
Stein?
Yes,
Yeah,
yes.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah. And I think you asked both of them, what was the moment that they knew they loved jazz? And I thought it brought back so many memories because now this might be a little bit different from a lot of your audience, but I was a huge Joni Mitchell fan growing up.
yeah,
And I remember when the first time I heard his genre, and I just fell in love with Jaco Pastorius and the fretless bass absolutely sent me. So
yeah, for sure. And it's funny with Jocko, I've had the chance to talk to people that were firsthand there and Weather Report, like Peter Erskine, and
mhm.
just what their recollection was and how good he was, and just being around that is quite magnanimous, really helps you grow. So speaking of live shows, what was the first live show you saw that blew you away?
I I'd have to say it was on Sunset Boulevard, Whiskey a Go-Go, and it was a guy I'd never heard of before, Bobby Blue Bland.
Okay.
Um, just a it was just blues and jazz, and I was a kid. I got hand stamped and let in when I was maybe 14 or so, and that whole thing
Yeah,
marked me for life,
yeah,
but in a good
absolutely.
way. Yeah.
Absolutely. So talk to me a little bit about who has been kind of a musical hero other than Joni, or maybe heroes in your life that have inspired you to artistically create.
Wow, there's a huge range for that. I mean huge. Anywhere from Jane Austen to Guy Ritchie to Quentin Tarantino comes to mind. I know none of those are musicians, but I've done a lot. I've led classes a lot, kind of modeled on, well, at first they were completely modeled on Julia Cameron's The Artist Way. And she has this concept where to foster and strengthen the imagination and the creativity, you do artist dates, and that's basically where you don't necessarily take anybody with you except the artist that you are, and you just fill the bucket. And so I'm naming people that have filled my bucket. In terms of music, I've liked a huge range. I mean, I love Mozart and Beethoven. I love those guys. I like Coltrane. There's just a massive range of musicians. Of course, the Beatles. I mean, I think anybody my age is going to name the Beatles as one of the major influences.
Absolutely. So if you could meet any musician alive on the planet right now and spend some time with them, who would it be? Or even see them live?
See them live. I would love to see Peter Gabriel.
Yeah.
I missed the Peter Gabriel Sting tour I guess that was 4 or 5 summers ago, but yeah, I would love to see Peter Gabriel.
I interviewed a vocal coach in LA, right outside of LA, by the name of John Henney. And he told me that the show that he saw that was the best he ever saw was when Peter Gabriel did So. And he saw that tour.
Yeah. Yeah, I'd have to agree. I mean, I've probably watched that at least 5 or 6 times in entirety.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is an amazing show.
So what is the inspiration for you as a creator? What is it that ultimately gets you up every day, motivates you, and gets you to create and be who you are?
You know what? That has somewhat recently changed. I used to be driven a lot more about self-expression. I can't remember who has said it, but somebody said something that um, all great art is self-expression, but not all self-expression is great art.
Yeah.
And I was a lot more motivated by self-expression while I was basically working things out in my own soul. And now it's really shifted to where it's a communication tool to me. And that's why when I was answering children in our earlier in our conversation, I really, there are some subjects that really take a high word count, and there are other subjects that are conveyed by feeling. And so I choose the genre, unless I'm commissioned. I mean, then the structure is given, but when I'm just creating for myself, I choose the genre that fits the idea I want to convey. And I write because I can't not, it is who I am. But beyond that, it's because I'm hoping to, it sounds cheesy. I don't know how to, it sounds a little cheesy, but you're hoping to change the world.
Yeah, for sure. So the thing about life is that we gain wisdom through all of the things that we go through. If you were to have a dream tonight, run into the 20-year-old version of yourself, and you could give that young version of you a piece of advice, what would you tell that younger version of you?
I don't know if that younger version would listen to me at all.
Yeah,
But
that's the other thing.
yeah, I would tell that person to start journaling. I honestly, a lot of my life is sort of a do-over. I'm in my second chance life. I came super close to dying, and just as you might expect, and you've heard at least half a dozen times before, there were certain things. There were 2 things in particular. One was a relationship change that really needed to happen that I had not had the courage to face. And the other one, and that led into more dealing with an original trauma in my life that I knew about, but I didn't really know about, if that makes any sense.
Sure.
And so I would have told the 20-year-old to start journaling, and hopefully that might have been unpacked a lot earlier in life than the time that it did take.
What are you the proudest of that you've done so far?
My latest book I'm very, very proud of, and I have 3 artist projects. It's mostly my latest work, though. I just finished a 288-minute underscore that is cinematic. And so I'm fresh off of that. I think I might be proudest of the things that I just finished because I'm constantly improving. Um, and so I think I might be the proudest of what I've ever done most recently.
Yeah, for sure. So everyone out there has a perception of you, family, friends, fans, colleagues, clients, but you're in control. What's your perception of you? Who do you think you are?
I am definitely an artist with something to say who is hoping that it resonates with other people in such a way that we can um, improve our lives and enjoy being here.
Excellent. So if anyone out there wants to listen to your work, get your book, anything pertaining to your world, where do they go?
Well, MelanieGoodwinStudios.com is where to go if they have an interest in the book that has a trailer. It's resurrectedroadkill.com. And I have a music launch later, but the music's not, I'm still, the music's coming out in about 6 weeks because we're still working on that.
Excellent. Well, hey, Melanie, thank you for taking time out today. Best of luck with everything. I appreciate it.
Thank you so much, Joe. You too.
Great to meet you. Take care.
You too.
See ya.
Bye-bye.